You mentioned it can become our gold. Can you say more about that?
This is what I find in this work, which becomes amazing. And, with everybody, and I notice in my own life as well, it's actually the experiences that have been very stressful or overwhelming, or experiences that we might have had shame to. They actually become, when we discover that they're actually the experiences that form us into the people that we become now, that we discover this innate capacity and a strength and a way of being in the world that we wouldn't have had if we don't have those experiences, Yeah, so they're formative. They're formative for us, and they become the rich, I sometimes describe it, the Japanese kintsugi, they have these bowls, these earthenware bowls, and they get, it might be an everyday bowl and gets broken, but it's the beautiful metaphor for us human beings, because they repair that very ordinary everyday bowl with gold, with seams of gold, and it becomes then more valuable, through its brokenness and through its gold seams that run through it. And then it becomes something, on a shelf to be appreciated. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like the human condition as well. It's our fractures and our brokenness, or a piece too much here, a piece not enough there, that actually becomes our gold and our richness that adds to us. We discover that's part of me and part of my wealth and part of my worth. Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful thing about therapy and the work that you do, that something that somebody is carrying that feels like a burden and feels like a trauma and something they really wish hadn't happened to them or that they hadn't experienced. And there's no changing that. And yes, if we had a magic wand, we would like that not to have happened to them. But through therapy, they can find the gifts that come with that and the way of meeting themselves deeply through that pain and that traumatic experience.
And sometimes, Laura, I'm thinking of a few people that I work with. And it might be experiences of being told you're too much, or you're not enough. And some of those characteristics and behaviours that they have, they feel then I'm too much or I'm not enough. But often in the work, just spontaneously, examples of a situation in life where actually that quality has been needed. Maybe I'm too much, and you discover it's that quality actually that you want to keep, that's part of you. And that quality has supported you to discover things that you mightn't have otherwise discovered, Yeah. So I'm thinking of particular examples, but yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. So when someone comes to you in a state of stress, in a state of nervous system activation or whatever you might describe it as, what is your objective when they come to you?
Generally, it's offering a little moment of connection, Laura. So when people come in, they feel, oh, there's something so badly wrong with me, or I'm so stressed I'm going off the rails, or I'm going completely crazy, or whatever. So people come feeling they're very different from everybody else and they're overwhelmed with this experience. So often just offering little moment of human connection, because that actually supports us, and then offering an experience of actually us humans, we're more similar than we are different. So we've lots more in common. We might have different textures and different experiences and whatever, but at our core, we're actually much more similar. So I think offering a little bit of connection to the degree that a person feels safe enough to be with. For some of us, it's needing closer connection. For other people, it's, I'm not so sure, being wary in the world. So offering a little tiptoe into connection. So that creates a sense of, I think it's a human just being with, that becomes so soothing and such a balm for our systems, for our whole self. Yeah. So just offering space just to come and like be as you are, and discover there's nothing at the core wrong. That becomes really important. There's nothing wrong with people. So there might be things that people would like to change about themselves, or there might be things that people would like to feel differently or do differently. But at the core, there's nothing wrong. But what I offer then is some connections that you open up other ways of being. So it doesn't always have to be this one way, this anxious way or fearful way or rageful way that I have of being in the world. So it's to open other ways.
Yeah. Giving people more avenues than the one they have adapted to be in, that there might be a little bit more choice about how they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's, one of the amazing things about humans as well is just like neuroplasticity. So we are always growing and always developing, and we can always like discover and find and learn new ways of being, which is like amazing. So sometimes we have like a well-worn groove, that we think is our identity. That's me. I'm always like that. I always get nervous in these situations, or I'm too afraid to try that. Or so we get a well-worn path that we end up like stuck in a groove and feeling really limited and afraid and stuck. And then like just connection, because healing happens in the moment. And healing just happens in like relationship and connection. So it becomes then other ways of being. Our brains and are just primed for it to discover naturally a new way of being. So like I describe therapy, like I'm thinking one person, and I don't think she'd mind me saying it, but she describes it as, she says, ease is the therapy. And I said, that's it. That's it. So we joke that could be a book on a shelf someday. But it's like the ease, discovering like ease, which is our natural state, becomes the therapy. Some people come and think, I've got to really work at this. I've got to really dig, and I've got to strip back this and really go into my past and bring all that up. And we do that, but in a way that's easeful, that always works within capacity. So it's never like an overwhelm, It might be taking little pieces of life story as they emerge in now, in the present moment, like a little fractal. So taking a little moment in the now that contains the whole of the picture, and then working with ease to support all those other states to be expressed or discharged and stuff. So, yeah.
It makes me think, I just get an image in my mind of like a little hexagonal tile where there's this one piece that we're going to be with in this place of ease that we've found together, and that has a ripple effect out. And then, there's another little piece that you be with in ease, and that has a ripple effect out. And it just to get this image of the system changing very gently, not through efforting and dragging out all your trauma and unpacking it. But yeah, what you're describing sounds really beautiful.
Laura, that's exactly it. I think, so Peter Levine is one of my teachers, but he was using like a metaphor, like you create like a little ease, a little island. So like your hexagon, one little island, and that becomes a little bit of supportive ground within the midst of everything else. And then you have another moment, and that's another island, and then another island. And over time in the work, those islands start connecting. So it becomes like more of a landmass. So people instead feel I've got this like solid supportive ground in order to be able to then deal with and process all of the other stuff. So instead of being caught up in the whirl, it's like steady ground to be able to look and be able to, what we call touch into by little bit, all of the unprocessed overwhelm or stress or trauma in our systems. Yeah.
It sounds like, to me, something that you're describing is that when someone comes in a state of stress or angst or fear or rage or whatever it might be, that they're finding themselves going to automatically and they don't know how to do it a different way, that you have such capacity to be with them and for that state to be okay and to connect with them right there and bring, it's almost like using your regulation and your ground that you've developed to be able to help them find that in the moment with you.
That's exactly it, Laura. For us therapists, and I take this work like very seriously myself. So I have a metaphor myself. So it's almost like one of those little like landing ships that it connects in. So it's like I feel myself anchored. So when I regulate in the moment, then we're offering like co-regulation, because we're always speaking to each other, and our nervous systems speak to each other. So it offers like a regulation and a co-regulation to another person so they can start experiencing an island of safety, or a little hexagon, of being with, that starts to support then the whole nervous system to reorganize. Like when you're talking about the little hexagons, I have the image, those cogs, and you get one cog, you turn one little cog, and then another cog turns another cog, and our whole systems are like that. You turn one little piece, and the whole cogs start working, and the whole cogs start reorganizing to more ease, and that creates ripple effects. So it's, of course, a ripple effect in our own systems, in co-regulation and being with another. But the ripples start happening outside of ourselves. They start happening in relationships. When we do our own work, they happen in our own relationships, family relationships, community relationships, friendships, and beyond that. So it starts rippling out. And my own personal kind of theory or view on it is, it also starts rippling across time. So sometimes people have relationships or difficult relationships with people who've passed. And yeah. So when our systems start reorganizing, it's almost like we're continuing to do the work and continuing to heal those relationships, even though a person has passed. So it's beyond time. So it's like we're healing a lineage of ancestry, and we're also doing something for the forward generations.